The National Council for Occupational Safety and Health has released the 2020 Dirty Dozen. The annual list includes employers who expose workers and communities to unnecessary risks. This year, COSH offers a special coronavirus edition, which, if anything, opened the door for repeat offender Amazon to fall off the filthy 12 and into the dishonorable mention category. I mean, take it as an improvement. You're less worse, comparatively. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed some flaws in US workplace safety and has made it more difficult to rein in the spread of the disease. According to COSH, part of the problem is that more than 27 million Americans have no health insurance. 33.6 million have no paid sick leave, and more than 21 million work insecure jobs in the gig economy. US workplace deaths rose from 2017 to 2018. 5,250 US workers died from workplace trauma in 2018, about 100 more than the previous year. Even though fatalities are rising, the number of OSHA inspections is dropping. Since 2014, the number of inspections has dropped by 10.5%. According to COSH, OSHA does have the same number of inspectors that it had last year, but still only 875 to cover about 9 million US workplaces. The good news is that the price of a worker's life went up this year. The median fine imposed on employers by US OSHA following a workplace fatality is $7,761, up about $261 from last year. And fewer manufacturers made this year's Dirty Dozen, though a few food operations made dishonorable mention. Here is the 2020 Dirty Dozen, Coronavirus Edition. According to COSH, the American Hospital Association is fighting against coronavirus protections for healthcare workers. Despite the coronavirus pandemic, the Chipotle chain still violates sick leave policies. Months after OSHA fines, workers for Eulen America, which provides cabin cleaning, baggage handling, and other services for airlines, were still exposed to infectious disease risk of bloodborne pathogens and other hazards. Fieldale Farms bills itself as, quote, one of the largest independent poultry producers in the world. On January 15, 2020, a sanitation worker fell into a scalder he was cleaning, broke his neck, and died. Workers have also suffered severe burns, lacerations, and amputations as a result of preventable workplace injuries. On October 12, 2019, a building under construction in downtown New Orleans collapsed, killing 3 construction workers. The future site of a Hard Rock Café hotel, it is currently owned by 1031 Canal Development, with Citadel Building as the general construction contractor. What's even more tragic is that construction worker Delmer Joel Ramirez Palma had notified supervisors of safety concerns prior to the collapse. Then, 2 days after the accident, he was detained by US Immigration and Customs Enforcement and deported. On January 2, 2020, a 61-year-old worker at Lincoln Recycling Services was crushed to death in a preventable accident. The National Restaurant Association made the list this year for lobbying against paid sick leave for millions of workers. Sea-Watch International made the list this year for ignoring warnings and declining safety training, even after worker deaths. 5 workers at SGL Construction died during a massive highway project in Florida. Both the Tennessee Valley Authority and Jacobs Engineering came in at number 10 after 41 workers are dead and 400 are sick after a bungled cleanup of toxic coal ash. There's already been 1 reported fatality at Trader Joe's as the company fights its own workforce and stays open despite confirmed COVID-19 exposures. Finally, at number 12, Victoria's Secret. After a culture of misogyny at the fashion firm, suppliers that tolerate harassment, and failed to prevent against COVID-19. And now on to the dishonorable mentions. Injuries and deaths associated with Amazon due to its breakneck pace and next-day delivery headed on the Dirty Dozen list in 2018 and 2019. This year, at least 1 worker is dead from COVID-19. Smithfield Foods made the list for the worst COVID-19 hotspot in the nation at its Sioux Falls, South Dakota plant. more than 700 confirmed cases, and at least one worker is dead. And finally, Tyson Foods made the list after the company responded slowly to COVID-19, and 3 workers have already died at the company's poultry plants in Camilla, Georgia. To compile the Dirty Dozen, National COSH solicits information from its network of health and safety activists about companies that put workers and communities at risk. Criteria for inclusion includes workers at risk during the current public health crisis, severity of injuries, exposure to unnecessary and preventable risk, repeat citations by relevant state and federal authorities, and activity by workers to improve their health and safety conditions. COSH releases its annual report to coincide with Workers' Memorial Week from April 24th through May 1st, 2020. The hope is to remember workers who have been injured, suffered illnesses, or lost their lives at work. I'm David Manti. This is IEN Now.